we make you laugh? Aren't we fucking funny?
Does that sound right?
What's the boogeyman?
Welcome back to the Moonjuice Metal Horror Podcast, podcast where we live and breathe heavy metal and horror, but are not afraid to shit on both of them. I'm Matt.
I'm Mike.
I didn't fuck it up, did I?
Well, no, you didn't fuck it up. Well, we're getting pretty good at it at this point. I want to say because today is probably
it's cool. I don't even know how to like start this one off, dude. Because
actually, it's pretty easy.
This has been a long time coming, man.
Yeah, because we've been teasing it pretty much the entire month for weeks. If anybody paid attention to our Facebook account, we've been making multiple posts. Both me and Matt on our private profiles have also been trashing this. I got a lot of hate and a shitstorm through my profile for this, and we're finally doing it now because I think when was it, Wednesday or Thursday, the final episode aired on Disney Plus, and we are now doing the episode on the newest Disney princess story, Alien Earth.
Alien Earth.
It's like, yeah. I mean,
there are a lot of reasons we wanted to do this. There's a lot of reasons we wanted to do this, but mostly because I personally think that Alien and Aliens are kind of the definitive original sci-fi horror films. Like there's been plenty of other ones, but this one here, I consider Alien a perfect film. It's a perfect film. Aliens is also a damn near perfect film.
Yeah.
And I think it's a credit to the movie making, it's a credit to the writing, it's a credit to the acting, but most of all, it's a credit to established story and lore and how things work, right? So if you stick to that and you create something truly terrifying, it's movie gold. People love it. And I've never heard anyone say Alien was a bad movie. I've never heard anyone say Aliens is a bad movie. Like, everybody fucking loves those. And there's a reason for it. It's very hard to put a dent in the storytelling, the cinematography, the creepiness, all around. Yeah. They're great fucking films, right? This is not that.
No, not at all. I mean,
this is not that in any way.
I mean, it's sci-fi, but they have more or less removed all horror from it. And if you just put gory shit and blood into something, that does not make it horror at all. And that's pretty much what in a lot of scenes, what they were trying to do. They put a little bit of gore into it, and oh yeah, look, that makes it horror. No, not really. Just putting gore into shit does not make it horror or scary or in any kind of way. I mean, to be honest, to be horror, you have to put like the protagonist in a situation where they are pretty much helpless, or where you have some kind of stakes. This is something that the majority of the protagonists do not have because they're all super powered. The protagonists, by the way, are all superheroes. Now, for example, I mean, you could easily just say for a certain degree, this is like putting Superman against a Xenomorph and then expecting the show to be scary.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are calling this outside of the box, like it's so great because finally somebody is doing something outside of the box. This show absolutely proves entirely that Disney is not capable of making anything but Disney princess shows. They can't, because everything they make eventually falls down to exactly that. And well, overall to begin with, it actually made Xenomorphs cute and cuddly. I really don't know where to begin on how fucking stupid that is.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things to say about that.
I mean, you have to do a lot of insanely bad writing to take a movie monster that a Xenomorph that is basically a radioactive scorpion with the physical strength of a grizzly bear possessed by Satan, and turn it into a cutesy thing that you want to pet.
Yeah. Well, there's multiple problems here. I'll keep in mind here that we have to go through 8 episodes. We'll probably not go through every single thing that happens in every episode, so you'll get a summed up version. But my biggest thing here, Mike, is that we continue, and this is just the nature of the machine. You can be mad about it, or you can be happy about it, it doesn't matter. The nature of the machine is that Disney gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it absorbs more and more and more IPs, right? And you can look at any IP that they have absorbed, and why anybody thinks this is a good idea, I have no idea. It's just, it is a money making machine, and they don't care. They don't care what IP it is. They don't care how many people care about it. They don't care about the original writing. They don't care about the actors that were involved, whose lives they're kind of betraying with new storytelling. They take an IP, they make it Disney friendly. They add a little bit of gore to it if it's adult entertainment, like you already said. They'll add gore to it. They'll add some mysticism to it that was probably already there before. And then towards the end, they will churn it out to be this fuzzy, cute little thing that helps them sell merchandise, right? And that's exactly what happens here. This is by far the most prolific movie monster outside of maybe Godzilla that I can think of. And this is the most terrifying creature besides maybe The Thing, right? Because we don't know shit about it. Not really, right? So if we ignore everything that Ridley Scott did with his prequels to this, which I think people should do, right? We don't know much about this organism. We know that it is a killing machine that has a very quick life cycle in the beginning, right? It comes out of another person. It takes on traits of the thing that it comes out of, that where it gestates, and from a matter of hours becomes a huge, perfect killing machine that is an organism that is unable to be killed by most things that humans have to fight back with. It is the perfect organism. It can be injured, right? And they can be killed. We see that in Aliens, right? So there were hundreds of these things slaughtered by the Marines because they had high-tech weaponry, right? But if you don't have high-tech weaponry or an understanding of what these things are, they will slaughter and slaughter and slaughter, and they multiply like rats because of how versatile the facehugger is, right?
Yeah.
And so we take this perfect killing machine that we don't know anything about, that lurks in shadows, could be right behind you, and you wouldn't know it. And every time we've seen this thing kill, in every fucking movie, it kills instantly. It kills instantly without any thought. It doesn't waste time trying to check out its prey. It murders. It is a chaos machine, right? And this series takes a xenomorph and makes it into a cuddly, cute pet. And anyone who likes this franchise, if you like it, you don't have to love it like I do or like you do. If you like it, you should be appalled by this, what they've done with this, let alone the atrocious writing.
There are, I wouldn't necessarily that, there aren't Alien fans that like this. There are a very, I would say, pretty large portion of Alien fans that like this thing. These are people I would call auto intake zombies. And there are two kinds that I would categorize personally, these type of people. And auto intake zombies are there two types. There are the people that are going to love it just because it's Alien, because it has the name Alien and it has a fucking Xenomorph in it. Literally.
Right.
Then there are the other auto intake zombies, and these do not necessarily apply to Alien, but they apply to literally anything else. These are people that are going to like it because it's doing everything differently. It's different, it's doing everything differently, and they love it. These are usually the people that say stuff like, oh, it's outside of the box. This is done differently, and oh, it gives it more nuance. These two types of people are going to like this show just for that reason. They're going to like it because it has a xenomorph in it, and the other group are going to like it because it's doing everything differently that has been done in the franchise so far. If it's good or not is irrelevant. Those are the type of people that like this stuff. And anybody that calls Noah Hawley a super genius writer, no, the guy's a fucking idiot. You can tell me whatever you want. And I might get hate for that, but this guy...
Mike, we're going to get a lot of hate for this. We're going to get a lot of hate for this, and I don't give a shit.
Did not do anything creative with this show. He literally took Peter Pan, the book, took multiple chapters from this book, mixed the events up, set it into a sci-fi setting, and then wrote a script. That's all this show is. The first 3 episodes of this show is Peter Pan. The plot is identical. It's not similar. It does not have references to Peter Pan. The plot is identical. The idiot did not even bother to rename half of the characters. All magical creatures were just replaced with some alien monster.
Yeah, you're right.
Huh?
You're absolutely right.
Every single character, literally, every single character in this show is a sci-fi dystopian version of a character from Peter Pan. Every single one.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, people have been defending this show, right? They've been defending the show saying, Disney does that. They take things and they try to expand on it and they try to create a new story and they try to keep it fresh, right? Well, I'm sorry. This takes place 2 years before Alien happens, right? 2 years before Alien happens. There is fresh things in the story that did not exist in Alien. And this is going to sound like a nerd rant, right? This is going to sound like a nerd rant. But there are things in the story that were not part of established canon that if they did exist at the time that Alien happened, that would not have happened at all the way that it happened. So you start off a story trying to do something fresh by adding new things to it that did not exist in the original IP, in the original film. Automatically, from the jump, shitting on the original film and ruining that story completely. So not only are Disney using their own IP that is a moneymaker, which is Peter Pan. If you don't believe me, go online and look at how much Peter Pan, just in general, the story, the rights, look at how much money that thing makes every year for Disney. Of course, it makes monetary and only monetary sense to bring Peter Pan into this so that you can get everybody interested in your IP that you already own and make them go watch it. Because there are people who don't know a whole lot about Alien, and there are people like the ones you're talking about that like Alien and like that they're adding something fresh to it, that are now going to go back and watch Peter Pan to try and figure out how many parts of the story are cannibalized from the Peter Pan story. And it's true, Mike. I've done the research. You can go back and look now at the views on Disney Plus for Peter Pan since this series came out. They've tripled. They're making money hand over fist just by taking one of their own IPs and creating an Alien story out of it. And that is, I'm sorry.
Well,
it's unfathomable.
My reference to Peter Pan was not necessarily their IP. I refer to it specifically the book because the book is not an IP of Disney. Disney's IP generally is based on their theme.
But
not
you know what I'm saying, right?
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying exactly. And you're right about it. Huh? Yeah. But just before we get into it, we're probably not going to do a scene-to-scene breakdown. We're more or less just going to talk about
There's no way. This is going to be mostly rage baiting.
Yeah. Amazing. And just to start out, if you like our podcast, and don't forget to give us a like, write a comment in the comment section, and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out. So beyond that, before we get into any of the episodes, I'm going to bring up the cast. And I'm not going to refer to them as their names in the show. I mean, it's not easy because half of them literally are named the exact same way they are.
They're named the exact same thing from Peter Pan.
I'm going to refer to them only as the characters from the book Peter Pan. Because I have literally, to people I know, only described the basic plot to friends of ours. They were convinced I was talking about Peter Pan.
Yeah, of course they were. It's Peter
just
Pan.
Saying what I've done this with people I know that aren't Alien fans. I've literally described what happens in the show, and they all believe me that it was from Peter Pan. Literally.
Yeah, rightfully so.
However,
rightfully so.
We have the actor, and I want to be honest, no hate on any of the actors. One positive thing you can say about the show, the actors are all doing a good job. There's not one person in the show that I would say is doing bad acting. So all of the actors, they're all great. No hate towards any of them. However, we have Samuel Blanken that plays Peter Pan. We have Sidney Chandler playing Wendy. Timothy Oliphant, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, that plays Tinkerbell.
Elephant, yeah.
We have,
yeah.
We have Alex Lawther that plays Michael, Wendy's brother. Then we have the Darlings, the parents. Essie Davis playing, I'm not sure what the mother's name is, Mrs. Darling. Then we have David Redashi, whatever, playing Mr. Darling. Basically Wendy's parents, but in this version of the story, they're not her parents. They're just two people that, kind of help her out. Then let's get to the Lost Boys. And they're literally called this in the show. We get Lily Newmark playing Nibs. We get Erina
Now you know why I
James.
brought out the whiskey for this episode.
Yeah, Erina James playing Curly. We have Jonathan that plays Slightly. Kit Young playing Toodles. Okay, now we're going to come to the most crazy characters. I'm not crazy characters. I'm the most ridiculous one. Now, one of the Lost Boys in this show is named Smee. I mean, that's a name you probably have never heard of. He's played by Adarsh Gurath. No? Probably mispronouncing the actor's real name, but sorry for that.
It doesn't matter.
Then we have Babu Casey playing Captain Hook. And guess what? One of the Lost Boys named Smee, ends up helping Captain Hook. And by the way, a lot of people got me hate for this, for comparing him to Captain Hook. Because no, he's totally not a space pirate. No, he's a guy flying around in a spaceship through space, committing illegal things, kidnapping other beings, transporting them from A to B for profit. But he's not a space pirate. Oh, and by the way...
No, not a space pirate.
He has a machine arm. That's absolutely not a reference to Peter Pan.
No, not at all.
And guess what? He crash lands with his spaceship in Peter Pan's territory. Okay, that doesn't happen in the book and in the movie, but there are multiple Peter Pan stories where that is exactly the way Captain Hook arrives in Neverland. Okay, good. Okay, then we have, of course, the other characters. We have the entire cast from the idiot ship, I'm going to call it. I forgot the name of the spaceship, and I don't care. I'm just going to call it the idiot ship, because everybody on that ship is a complete fucking idiot. We have...
Yes, for multiple reasons that we'll get into. Yes.
We have Sandra Yee, Sensing Diver, whatever, playing Tiger Lily. And the other two characters there are like some of the soldiers I don't care about. However, that's basically the main cast of this. Yeah. And yeah.
It's Peter Pan all the way through. I mean, after episode 3, we kind of get somewhat of an original story, but it's not a story that is befitting of Alien in any way. That's probably my main argument with this, Mike. Like we could go into this for hours, but what this comes down to is that this show on its own, right? And you probably want to elaborate on this too. This show on its own, if it had not been Alien, might have been good. It might have actually been great, because if you want to take a dystopian version of Peter Pan and do that and use creatures from outer space, brilliant idea. I would have watched that. I would have loved that, actually. Don't do it with Alien. Please don't do it with Alien. Why would you do that? You have years and years and years of established lore that people enjoy and love and watch over and over and over again. I mean, yes, Aliens is a moneymaker. Anything that you do with Alien is a moneymaker. Yeah. But if you had done this on Disney Plus with this story and not used the Xenomorph, you would have done well anyway. Why ruin Alien? Why smash all this lore and take something that was near and dear to every horror fan's heart and destroy it? It is the exact same thing, Mike, and I don't think we've talked about this. It is the exact same thing that they did with the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Exact same fucking thing. Yeah. That is a story that on its own, with different characters, would have done well, right? But instead, you decided to take a sacred IP and completely shit all over the fucking lore from the original story. Just in the name of doing something different, like you said. There are people who love this show because, yeah, like you said, they're breathing fresh air into this story. They're doing something different than Alien has done before. Okay, fine. How well did that work for the Star Wars sequel trilogy? How well did that work? That is a steaming pile of shit.
The thing is,
and a gob of spit in the face of everything that Star Wars was. This is the exact same thing.
And that's the funny thing. When it comes to merchandise, Star Wars is no longer a franchise that the name alone sells money.
No,
because people have lost absolute interest in. Thing is, the only things when it comes to merchandise outside of the movies that makes money with Star Wars is everything from old Star Wars. Anything new Star Wars,
right?
If you can't sell any merch with it, it makes no money whatsoever. They have not created one character that is actually popular amongst the only two characters they have created were Mandalorian and Grogu. Those are characters that are popular among Star Wars fans. Those two characters, everybody else, and this is just like the entire the popularity of modern Star Wars is purely faked. Just like the popularity of the Supergirl show, that, by the way, if you look on the internet and social media platforms, a lot of the internet is going to tell you it's the best Supergirl that ever existed. The entire popularity of that show, of modern Star Wars, is entirely faked. Because if you look into the actual numbers, viewership numbers, how much money is being made, how much money was made. If you go only by the Star Wars trilogy alone, no, it was not a success. The first movie earned about $2.6 billion worldwide, and while the last movie,
Which
The
it was
Rise of the
going to do because
Skywalker,
it was a Star Wars film.
barely hit $1 billion. Now the thing is, even though both of these movies are insanely profitable, if you have like $2.6 billion at the end, it only earned $1 billion. That is a revenue reduction of over 60%. That is not successful. Depends on what standards you hold it up to, or what you're going by. And if people say like, yeah, well, that happens, no, it doesn't. It didn't happen with X-Men.
No.
Up until, everything that came after X-Men 3. No, it didn't happen with Matrix. It didn't happen with the first 2 Star Wars trilogies. It didn't happen with Lord of the Rings. Twilight from all fucking franchises. No?
Yeah.
So
it's okay. It's okay to go down this rant, Mike, because this is important stuff. For me, this kind of cements how stupid people are. And I don't want this to become a conversation about, fandom, right? Because fandom is its own thing. Fandom kind of grows and changes and splits, and it depends on the divisiveness of the stories and so on and so on. None of that really matters, right? What really matters is what you took from the original story. What about that original story was good for you or nostalgic? And how much of that nostalgia you're willing to let become fanboy stuff that's put in new series, right? So Star Wars, Alien, any sacred IP that Disney has touched, they're going to take it and they're going to just pump it full of nostalgia because that's the only thing that keeps this stuff alive. With Alien and with Star Wars, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. And I have to wonder who up top thought that was a good idea. There's plenty of that in this, right? There's plenty of Easter eggs for people to be like, oh, they did this and they did that. It doesn't matter. If you destroy the original story, and in this case, even worse, because this happens 2 years prior to the original movie, there's no need for that shit. There's no need for it. And you sacrifice something that was really special to everyone. And you bloat your own IP like Peter Pan by using it in the story just so that you can make more money. Anyone who likes this shit, anyone who thinks that this is okay in the name of doing something fresh and new is a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. If you like this, okay, that's fine. But you weren't an Alien fan. I'm sorry. You weren't really an Alien.
You're not. Yeah, it's the same thing that people bring up like, oh, I'm so bored with lightsabers. Then you're not a Star Wars fan.
You're not a Star Wars fan. Yeah.
No, the thing is, I actually would like to have a Star Wars show without Jedi and lightsabers because that might be okay. That does not necessarily mean that person is stupid. It's just, if you say that, you're not a Star Wars fan. You're not. Of course, you could tell stories in the Star Wars universe without Jedi and all of that crap. Yeah, okay. But if that is an aspect that specifically bores you, then you're not a Star Wars fan. It's just like, I don't care.
Here's the thing, Mike, and maybe you can agree with me on this, right? So the original Alien film was a completely different film than Aliens, right? Alien is arguably a horror movie. It is a fucking horror movie, right? Aliens, done by a completely different writer and director, was an action film with horror elements. There were people that were There were people that were divided at that time about if Aliens ruined what Alien was, right? And I remember this because my dad was a huge Alien fan. Yeah. He was like, yeah, Aliens was a great movie. It was a fucking outstanding film. I loved it. I love that they brought the Queen into it. I love that they advanced the story, but they kept what made the original so good. And that's the mystery of the creatures. That is the helplessness of the characters and just the overall atmosphere of the entire thing. This show takes all of that away. All of it. All of it. The mystery of the Xenomorphs, gone. The claustrophobic helplessness feeling, gone. Any action that you see on screen in this series is done specifically just to keep that vibe going long enough to get you introduced to their new story. And it's not done well, and it doesn't make sense to the creature, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much. And yeah, and I think with that, I think maybe this is the point where we're going to get into the episodes. Pretty much, I'm probably going to lead an episode, then Matt, and then we're going to basically, kind of, more or less figure out. Now, for one, I'm just going to go now.
You go ahead and
shortly.
take episode 1 and 2 if you want to.
Okay, I'm going to go now shortly over episode 1 and 2. I'm briefly going to cover basically what happens in those, and then we're going to talk about them. No? Okay. So basically, episode 1 begins with all of the crew waking up on Idiot Ship. Basically, I'm
I love the name. We're keeping that Idiot Ship.
Yeah. How they're walking around talking about stuff and whatever. They're talking about this is happening. Okay, now crazy thing. Now they start talking about the corporations. Now this is the most first idiotic thing happening. However, these people have been in space for 65 years. Somehow they know all the current events on Earth. They know about Prodigy and Peter Pan. Now, by the way, this corporation has only existed for 10 years. And they've been out in space for 65 years. Of course, this civilization is advanced, but they're nowhere near Star Trek advanced. So this is ridiculous bullshit. This civilization still takes a very, very, very long time to get one signal from A to B through this distance.
Right.
And you're not going to send all entire events of the last 65 years in a message like that because that's way too much fucking data. Now, okay. Now,
Yeah,
so
you're right.
great. Okay. Now, so then it cuts back to Earth. Of course, and you have it showing Prodigy Neverland research. Okay. The location the entire story takes place in is in Neverland. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this shows how they mixed up the Peter Pan story. You have this rich billionaire that's a 15-year-old kid that is luring young children to his island with promises of being forever happy and living forever and blah, 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 blah. I mean,
it's Peter Pan. Yeah.
Yeah. However, basically, they also introduce how you have like these young kids. Their consciousness is being transferred into robot bodies. So, what technically making them immortal. Then it cuts back to the spaceship where shit's going down. You have a Xenomorph loose on the ship, and pretty much everybody's died or whatever, and blah blah blah. And then you have Captain Hook sitting in his ship, basically entering commands into the computer. This is the next thing that's insanely fucking stupid because he writes into the computer how the coordination with Earth is unavoidable. No access to one engine cannot be accessed. This spaceship is still somewhere near the moon. If you only activate one fucking engine for even a fucking minute, not even for 30 seconds, that would be enough to throw the ship so much off course that it doesn't hit Earth.
Right. Huge fucking plot hole.
But by the way, this ship, by the way, where it says the engines aren't working, makes it from the moon to Earth within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. What? And we're already shown the speed at which this thing is flying, too. It's not like it's soaring through space, right? This thing is kind of on a collision course, but slowly. But yeah, it reaches Earth in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
By the way, Mike.
Okay. Yeah.
By the way, real quick, this civilization is advanced enough to have multiple different types of synths, right? It has ships that can fly through space and hypersleep chambers that can put people in sleep for up to, 65, 70 years, right? This is a technologically advanced civilization. Do we think for one fucking second that Earth monitoring would not have picked up this ship coming through its atmosphere, known it was coming, and done something to stop it? So you're telling me Earth population would have just let this thing crash into a highly populated city without doing anything about it?
Oh, by the way, you have to say, it's also stated in the show, Earth has bases and already colonized the moon, Mars, moons of Jupiter, and whatever, by the way. So, and they have space stations way out our solar system. So this thing has already passed countless stations that probably tried to signal it. Nobody answered the ship, and the ship was heading straight to Earth.
By today's standards, by today's standards, okay? By today's standards, and our ability to monitor space and what is heading our way, by today's standards, this would not have happened. This would not have happened. This would not have happened. We would have shot this thing out of the air before it hit atmosphere so quick. But yet in this advanced civilization where everything is AI controlled and everything is monitored without the aid of human beings, this thing made it into Earth's atmosphere and crash landed in the center of a populated city. Get the fuck out of here. Sloppy fucking writing, dude. Sloppy fucking writing.
Yeah. Absolutely. However, I'm just going to go through the first 2 episodes first. Then we can rant about that.
Sorry, I'm going to do this the whole time. I'm just letting you know.
I know. However, so then it cuts back to Neverland. This is basically showing Wendy that has been transferred into a robot, that she's showing off all of her superpowers now, whatever. You have a scene that was straight ripped out of Underworld, her jumping off a big high cliff or whatever. Then her shortly talking about, oh my God, I have boobs. They feel so weird. Who the fuck cares? However, then you show the other and this is probably the only time I'm going to say something mentioning boobs and I don't care about. However, now then it shows the other kids being brought toward the island, and they convince Wendy to kind of help them through the process. They kind of figure out how it is to be in these robot bodies or whatever. Wendy eventually notices that her brother is in trouble through the spaceship crashing into Atrocity City. She convinces Peter Pan to let her and the Lost Boys travel back to the main country so she can help her family. Here we're already the first 4 and the last 3 chapters of Peter Pan, by the way. So she takes a fucking paper cutter. This is going to be relevant when we get into parts of episode 2. Heads off with the Lost Boys and Tinkerbell to the ship to find her brother. They eventually find her brother. They come across the Xenomorph multiple times. Now, and guess what? Wendy's brother is the only character that has ever existed that has encountered a Xenomorph without any weapons for 3 or 4 times and makes it out of it alive. Okay. Eventually, at the end of that, they come across in episode 2 a lot of.
I have so much to say, but I'm going to let you keep going.
I know they come across multiple alien creatures on this ship. Talk about it a little bit. Get attacked by one of them a little bit. Then eventually, after that situation, they find Wendy's brother. And with all of these alien creatures, Wendy and her brother together, they travel back to Neverland. And Wendy's brother almost dies on the way to Neverland. This is literally chapter 4 of Peter Pan, by the way.
Right.
Okay. And then that's it for the for episode 1 and 2, basically the plot. Now we can get into our rants.
Okay, so first problem I have, Mike, and you're definitely, I know you're going to bring this up just for viewers' sake. Understand that me and Mike have been watching every episode of this thing as it's been going along and ranting about it together and how bad it is the entire time. So there's a shit ton of stuff on our mind, but I'll try to keep it as limited as I can. Right. So my first major problem here, Mike, aside from the fact that 1, this would never happen, right? Never fucking happen. First problem, we established the fact that we have synths that are hybrids, right? They are human consciousness downloaded into robots, right? Not only that, but these are children. These are children that are around 8 to 10 years old. These are children, right? Into what we call hybrid robots. So they are synthetics with human consciousness, right? These are children. 2, we learn in the first episode that in this universe now, this was never established before. In this universe, we also have cyborgs, which is what Captain Hook's character is. Yeah. He's a fucking cyborg. He is a human that has been enhanced with cybernetic parts. Right. And then, of course, we have the original and only thing that was established by the original Alien trilogy, because there's 4 movies, all the way up until that 4th movie, which, Mike, how long into the future does Alien 4 take place after this? Do you know?
I'm not sure about the entire. You're going to have to answer that one. I'm not sure about the entire year.
It's about 500 years. It's about 500 years. So after this in Alien 4, we still only have synthetics. That's it. And Winona Ryder's character, who is a synthetic, explains in that movie that synthetics were the only thing there was, and that they decided to break their programming and try to become more human. If that's the case, and then that's canon, then these other things that this show created do not fucking exist. They don't exist. They never exist.
They can't.
No, they can't exist. This is haphazard writing where we take things and we say, oh, wouldn't it be cool if this universe had this, this, and this, and just put it in there? Fuck all consequence. Fuck any story that came after Alien 1. You know, we're just going to make the story our own. So that should tell you from the jump that this thing is not going to adhere to any rules of the original quadrilogy, right? Okay, on top of that, back to the story. This ship crash lands on Earth, which would have been impossible, but it happened, supposedly. Why would you send 8-year-olds to go clean up this mess? Why? If you...
Now,
okay, so the guy has a lot of money. Peter Pan has a lot of money.
Peter Pan has a lot of money.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The thing is, this is another thing that bothers me, by the way. However, this crash lands into a populated city. Some random group of soldiers is the only ones to drive out with 2 cars to the crash site. There's no police. There's no firefighters. There is nothing. Just 2 random cars of soldiers belonging to Prodigy. Wendy's brother is a medic. The most useless medic you have ever seen.
Yes, absolutely fucking useless medic.
They go there to what's it called? Save and search, basically.
Yeah, so it's search and seizure mission. Yeah,
search and seizure. While they're going through this building, the spaceship crashed into, they already find multiple injured people. What do? They slap a stick on it and continue walking. The medic, by the way, her brother, does absolutely nothing to help any of these people, and the soldier and just walks with the soldiers looking around. This is like literally if you had a car accident, you call an ambulance, they come up with the ambulance, look, yeah, here is an accident, get back in the car and keep on driving. That's literally what they're doing here, by the way. Now, this medic, throughout this entire show, he does everything except his fucking job.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, also, and I feel like so there are so many problems with this series that if we went through every one of them, we would just be here all day on the first episode. We'd be here on the first episode. But I do want to point one thing out that makes, besides the fact that he's a medic and he doesn't do his job, I want to point something out that makes absolutely no sense. These soldiers that are entering this facility, this crash ship that is in the middle of a high-rise fucking apartment, which is where this thing crashed, okay? We're not talking about a small building. We're talking about a high-rise apartment that is way up in the air. Structurally, this thing is compromised. It's compromised to the point of collapse, right? There is no scenario, because I was a soldier for 24 years, there is no scenario where you are going to send soldiers or anybody into that area where that ship crashed, not knowing how integrally damaged that structure is. Because if that structure falls, everyone's dead, including the people that were sent in to help. There is no scenario where they would send soldiers into this facility to help out, or to try to gather information, or to try to pick up creatures or any of that stuff until they're sure what's going on with this building. This building is towering over the ship that crashed, right? So logic here, and follow me, right? Logic. If this is an advanced civilization in the future that has synths, that has cyborgs, and that has hybrids, would you not just send those personnel in to help? Because they're expendable. They're expendable. If that building collapses and destroys everything beneath it, okay, well, it was just fucking robots that got destroyed. But no, we're sending people in to go pull these people out. There's no scenario where that happens, Mike. And this is also really fucking tragically bad writing here.
Yeah. I mean, the writing throughout the entire thing is insanely bad. One thing that also bothers me, this is what I'm going to bring up now. They taser a fucking Xenomorph. A fucking Xenomorph gets tasered.
So we're just rolling right into it. Okay. Are you sure you don't want to say phaser?
No.
Instead of taser?
It's tasered. The Xenomorph's outer skeleton. No, because they have an outer skeleton.
The carapace,
is silicon based. This weapon would have not had any effect on a Xenomorph. And they establish in here that you can taser a xenomorph. This is supposed to be the first time humanity encounters xenomorphs, but they somehow know they can taser these things. Now, if they knew that would work against xenomorphs, in Aliens, they specifically send out these Marines because they want to have one of those fucking xenomorphs. So, if they wanted to capture one of these xenomorphs and they knew they could just basically taser them, why did they not do that? This makes
question.
Literally, no? Every single character that has ever existed in the Alien franchise, on or off screen, a complete fucking idiot.
Yes, it does. This is consequence, right? So this is consequence of bad writing with a sacred IP. So there's a lot of reasons why this doesn't make sense, Mike, but the biggest thing is that Captain Hook's character specifically knows that he can use a taser to tase this thing. Keep in mind, this is 2 years before Alien, right? And I would assume, since the entire story of Alien 1 is a ship that is sent out to go retrieve something from somewhere else, specifically the synthetic that they had on board knew what the xenomorph was. He knew why they were going there, and that was a secret from the rest of the crew. That synth did not have some type of fucking taser on board?
True. Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
If a taser can bring down a xenomorph, and this is something that Captain Hook readily has available to use, you don't think that the other synth would have thought about that in Alien 1?
Oh,
that bothers the shit out of me.
And by the way,
that bothers the shit out of me.
Captain Hook got that out of their armory, that gun. So they had weapons.
Yeah.
Against that would work on xenomorphs. They had that specifically. Yeah, but the thing is, I think there's an explanation logically how they did not have that in the first Alien movie. Not because you can logically explain that away. But Aliens that happened 70 years after Alien, no.
Even
No.
worse.
It's worse.
Especially if we're considering the fact that Weyland-Yutani is one of the companies that controls Earth, right? Because this series establishes for the first time that Earth is controlled by corporations, one of them being Weyland-Yutani, right? Weyland-Yutani has had its hands in everything: military research, space exploration, gathering specimens, stuff like that. That's the whole reason why this ship was sent out, right? So if this happened 2 years before, and this is a commodity that they wanted to have, which has been established in every Alien movie ever, that Weyland-Yutani wants this fucking specimen. They want it. Even Romulus established that. Romulus was a terrible movie, but it also established that because right after Alien 1, Romulus happened. And Romulus was the story of Weyland-Yutani trying to do the exact same thing that's happening in this series, which is gather that specimen. They know everything about this creature. Everything, right?
Yeah.
I would assume.
Yeah.
Because the entire series is the pursuit of Weyland-Yutani to get a hold of this specimen, to use it for whatever they want to use. This company does not communicate very well with each other at all, apparently. Not at all. Because if this takes place before Alien 1, then Alien 1 and 2 probably would not have happened. And that's my biggest argument with this whole thing. Alien and Aliens would not have happened the way that it happened if Weyland-Yutani had the knowledge that it has in this series. Period.
No.
Period.
No, here's the crazy thing, by the way. You are going to see throughout this series, in total, 3 xenomorphs that exist in the series. On the ship, it is established that there are 6 overmorphs. The overmorphs are the xenomorph eggs. But only 2 face huggers hatch from those overmorphs. So technically leaving 4 possible other xenomorphs that are on this island. They have to be. So why the fuck would they send out anything, use any resources to go out into deep space to find these things, even though they technically already have 4 of them already on Earth before anything in the entire Alien franchise ever happens?
Right.
It's stupid.
That is an also excellent point. You're right.
I mean,
I hate to say it, Mike, but we're going through this series here on the podcast just to point out how ridiculous it is. But as an Alien fan, it almost makes me not even want to do it because we're so far into lore breaking and destroying the story that it almost makes no sense to even look at this thing logically. That's the thing. And I'm sorry, but like I said before, if you are an Alien fan, how could you? How fucking dare you? How fucking dare you stand up and say that this series is good? How could you? I'm sorry. I'm going to pose that question to anybody out there who wants to like argue with us, but you're an idiot. Come at me, man. You're a fucking idiot. Sorry. Sorry.
God, I mean, you can complain, but what I have to say, I'm going to say a few positive things about this show, just so we rule that out.
Okay, yeah, we probably need to do that, right? We probably need to do that.
Okay, the acting is good. All of the actors do a great job when it comes to acting. They're all good. Really, there's no criticism I can put towards any actor in this show. The concept itself of these different alien creatures, it's well made. The effects, everything, except for the Xenomorph, is well made. All of it. All great ideas in themselves. Filming, so far, the locations, so far, it all looks good. It all looks great. So that's positive things I am going to acknowledge about the show, and that's it. Everything else sucks.
Yeah. I will say also, with a budget that Disney has that they threw at this thing, the sets and the acting better be fucking good. Did you see how much this thing cost to make?
No.
Just the first season alone? The first season alone costs more than Alien and Aliens cost to make. So with that fucking budget, the sets better be fucking amazing and the acting better be fucking great, because that's what Disney does. Disney is like the Russia of corporations. They throw everything at something until it dies, right? Right. And that's every bit of their budget went into those. But apparently none of it went into the writing and none of it went into storytelling whatsoever. Because from episode 1 to 3, the character development is tragic. It's fucking tragic. So we want to talk about Rey in the Star Wars trilogy being a Mary Sue. Fucking Wendy's character is the biggest Mary Sue that ever existed. She takes the fucking crown. Okay. This is an 8-year-old. Yeah. This is an 8-year-old that was put into a synth body that's probably around like 21, 22 years old. And she develops intellect, sympathy, all these crazy things that she should not technically have at the age that she is right now, at least not in the capacity that she shows having as a synth, right? And out of nowhere, all of a sudden, learns the frequency that you need to talk to Xenomorph. That bothers the shit out of me.
Now that already comes up in episode 2 when they land near idiot ship, and she already hears things. And this is like, okay, she already hears the Xenomorphs. Right. There are a dozen other fucking synths around her that have literally the exact same design, exact same development, the exact same settings as her. Nobody hears it but her.
Right. Yeah, that's
if these were human if these were human beings, you can make that argument. These are fucking androids. That all, by the way, have the exact same fucking settings, the exact same fucking design, the exact same hardware, and they're all running on the same Betriebssystem as well. Yeah. She's the only one that picks this shit up. Noah Haley, you're stupid.
Right.
If you wrote this.
Yeah, and I think it's episode 2, right? Is it episode 2 where at the very end of episode 2 they have a face hugger? And they extract the embryo from the facehugger?
I think
is that the end of episode 2?
Episode 3. Episode 3 is where they extract. Now, this is another positive thing we can say about the show. They retconned the entire lore of Prometheus and Covenant. That you can say about it. Because they remove an embryo, a Xenomorph embryo, from the facehugger and place it into the lung of Wendy's brother.
I will add, though, too, I mean, even though that's episode 3, we haven't really gotten there yet. Apparently, facehuggers also don't have acid blood anymore. Is that what I got from that? Because they cut into this
But
thing.
this is the next thing. They don't have...
Let's not forget the fact that an alien...
blood until later on, they don't have acid blood only if the plot needs them to have acid blood. Did they have acid blood?
Right.
Outside of that,
that's what I was going to say.
Blood. I mean, next thing. Okay.
Let me sum up real quick. Episode 1 and 2, the 2 that you went through.
I already did some of
that well, I mean, the things that I have the biggest problem with, right? And you'll probably agree with this. The pilot, the first episode, trades the slow burn dread of Alien for character-driven energy, right? This origin story cheats on established franchise DNA in so many ways, dude. You got a Mary Sue protagonist without the earned arc, right? So any other protagonist in Alien has an earned arc. Wendy's kind of introduced as an instant central consciousness who quickly acquires sympathy, agency, and near magical hold over alien behavior.
And by the way,
right?
before somebody brings up the point, we have a problem with female protagonists. Every single fucking protagonist in the Alien franchise is a woman, and they've all been awesome by them.
Yeah, and Ripley is the most badass fucking character ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
me too.
Say whatever you want. This is not an anti-female rant. So reviewers in general of this show called her an unearned Mary Sue compared to Ellen Ripley's painful, earned survival arc. And it robs the show of the franchise's biggest gift, right? The biggest gift is that Ripley didn't get power like she does. She got scars, right? So Ripley is a very scarred individual. This character just automatically, just like the Star Wars trilogy, is an amazing person out of nowhere. And that bugs the shit out of me.
And by the way, she's not really an amazing person. She's a stereotypical modern written character with morally gray and nuance and everything, but does shit only somebody would do that is absolutely fucking evil, specifically towards the end. And still, at no point or whatsoever is the show portraying her in any kind of way as something.
That's true.
That's what bothers. I mean, that's what
bothers
bothers me about modern. It's not that I have a problem with morally gray stories and morally gray characters. I don't. But modern writers, they don't write morally gray characters. They write evil people and justify it through, oh, it's all morally gray.
Yeah, right. Correct.
In the last 2 episodes, the decisions Wendy makes, they're evil. They're flat out evil. These are not the decisions of a 12-year-old kid. And by the way, she's 12, not 8. These are the decisions of somebody that is evil. Because in all the situations, specifically when she has the Xenomorph kill all the soldiers or whatever, these are all situations where she could have easily making several other decisions that would have got nobody killed.
That's kind of my point here too, Mike. Like, so if you think about the synths that were used in all the other films, right? They were used as part of the story. They were used as actual characters, right? The synths in this are treated like conventional plot furniture. Follow me on this. The franchise's synths, so Ash, Bishop, Call, they always raised ethical questions and distrust. Here in this series, synths are mostly used to move the plot or to be metaphors without consistent rules. That makes sense in this, a theme-like shortcut rather than a serious philosophical thread, which is the ultimate fucking betrayal of what synths were in every other fucking Alien show. That's fucking sad, dude. It's horrible. Like, we took the idea of synths, and instead of making them integral to the plot, we use them as plot armor and like furniture that you just move around. I fucking hate that. Because Bishop is an awesome character, right?
It is. He is a great character. Everybody loved him. Also in this show, it does something I hate about modern storytelling. It establishes that every single character in this show is a fucking highly intelligent Einstein IQ person, but in every single situation these people are, they act like complete fucking morons.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. These are a bunch of kids that are now in synth bodies. They have to be highly intelligent because they have processing shit or whatever. They can download entire data banks and become scientists, as Toodles does, by the way. And still, after the show establishing him now being a super genius, acts like a complete fucking idiot getting himself killed.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, for what? This is the thing later on. Tinkerbell tells Toodles, because they're flying back, there's somewhere it says, here, you have to take care of all of the alien things we captured, feed them whatever. And Toodles like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go do that. First, everything goes well until somehow I think the lock of one of the alien acid bugs, I'm going to call them, somehow something's wrong with it. So he has to open it manually. Okay, so this guy knows how to. Now, this is something I'm going to bring up now because it makes also the entire containment thing look insanely fucking stupid. However, he opens up.
I got something to say about that. Go ahead.
Manually, he opens up this containment cell, slowly places the plate in there. Not just open it up, throw it in, and close the door. That's how any person would act that has 2 functioning brain cells. This guy, as it is stated in this show, is supposed to be intelligent, fucking intelligent that it rivals Skynet.
Yeah, of
These
course.
That's how the
Because
show
basically he
establishes.
is Skynet.
This show establishes.
Yeah.
These synths are supposed to be so highly intelligent that their intellect rivals Skynet. And then these bugs come. One cat, a bug the fucking size of a cat, and lands on his arms, and he just looks at it and waits for it to spit acid in his face. Acid that dissolves an animal. Acid that dissolves any material. But somehow the fucking containment
it's not like
built out of the containment field built out of glass somehow managed to hold these fucking bugs.
Yeah, I noticed that. The other thing is if they're so technologically advanced and this guy has downloaded the entire write-up about these creatures, which he has, because they're not going to let him into the lab to work with these creatures if he doesn't understand them. He would have already known that this creature can dissolve metal and electronic parts, but yet he just stands there looking at the damn thing. So here's my other big issue with that. There are timeline and tech inconsistencies here that are so overlooked, and it's almost like they purposefully overlook them. Objects, containment protocols, and corporate behavior seem to be both advanced and not so advanced. Can you agree with that? Like, the show picked franchise aesthetics, but didn't commit to the implied corporate paranoia and military containment that historically define Weyland-Yutani. Weyland-Yutani has always been extremely careful and extremely thorough with everything that they do, right? So compare Ripley's first season arc versus Wendy's insta empathy, and you kind of have to ask yourself whether you can make Alien work as a Disney adjacent coming of age story, because that's exactly what this does, while ignoring everything else that was established by the franchise in terms of protocol and in terms of how just extremely cautious Weyland-Yutani is. It's fucking ridiculous.
The only argument, it happens in Prodigy, not Weyland-Yutani. By the way, a corporation a corporation that, as far as I know, I'm not very much well known with the Alien Blade Runner universe about lore and fractions, but I know
they don't
there was
technically exist.
Yeah, but Prodigy never existed in the.
No, Prodigy never existed. This is a new and arguably there's a reason they don't exist by the time Alien happens and Aliens happens, because with this series we see the end of Prodigy. So they would not have appeared in Alien and Aliens.
Yeah.
Right. So this whole series kind of spells doom for Prodigy. Prodigy's done. I mean, we won't really know until season 2, which I can't believe this thing is getting a season 2, but
it hasn't
the way they left it, they kind of have to.
It hasn't. Who knows? I only watched the show. I told you that because you wanted to do an episode on it. You wrote a message. I literally, when I watched episode 1, I turned off the show after 20 minutes because I watched 20 minutes of it and I was like, okay, I'm not watching this shit. I turned it off. I'm not watching this crap. And then you said like, you want to do an episode on the podcast? I'm like, oh, great, now I have to watch.
I mean, it's one of those things we kind of have to do because Alien is integral to horror, and if anything new comes out, just like Romulus, if Romulus did well, we would have watched that movie and we would have said how great it was. I mean, I would have loved to have praised Romulus for being good, and it's the same thing with this series. I had hoped that maybe Disney would have breathed some life into this thing and actually continued the story or done something interesting, but they just treated it like every other IP that they have. They destroyed it.
Yeah.
They destroyed it. And that's where I can't be okay with that, And so it's important that we do this, that people watch this and kind of think a little bit, because if you don't stand up and say that something is terrible, it's just going to continue as long as it's making money, But if fans stand up and say, no, you fucked that up, they're going to stop and rewrite the course of their history.
It technically could eventually happen. You already see it happen in video games. You see it happen. It's already happened.
Yeah, of course.
Because the AAA company, the entire Eastern AAA company is now fucking destroying the Western ones. And the Western AAA company is like, oh, how could have this happened? Or you have like other small AA companies with 30 people making a video game on quality, on context, on scale, destroys every single AAA company that was released with that in the last 10 years for a fraction of the cost. even though having super high paid actors like Charlie Cox and Andy Serkis as voice actors in the game.
Yeah.
Every gamer is going to know what game I'm talking about. But and this is like, we're pretty much done for a large part with episode 2, though. So let's get into like episode 3 and episode 4.
Okay, so episode three is called Metamorphosis, right? I can probably sum this episode up pretty quick because there's only a few things that happen. These guys with the writing kind of draw things out to make it suspenseful, but it's not really suspenseful. So, quick breakdown. Big picture problem with episode 3. The biology and emotional core of the Xenomorph is kind of rewritten here. It's rewritten to serve strange metaphors, identity, adoption, tech parenting, rather than the raw horror of parasitic violation that merges the original into Aliens 2. Xenomorph physiology here is completely fudged. The show changes who can be a host and how infection works. Synthetics, hybrids, the eyeball parasite. When you change the core rules of Alien, facehugger targeting, acid blood, chest burster shock, you lose the primal body horror that made the original concept work. The series soft pedals classic alien biology to avoid gruesome set pieces or to serve weird new plot devices, right? There's an inconsistent threat level here. One scene, the aliens are lethal, as we saw, like, I think it was the first episode where the Xenomorph was at the top of the tower of this high-rise apartment, and it murdered all of the soldiers up there, and it murdered all of the civilians that were up in the tower, right? And then later you see the Xenomorph kind of just walk around victims and like check them out and see what they are before it attacks. Like, this thing has no pattern of behavior. Fuck.
And Wendy, by the way, captures the Xenomorph by holding it by its tongue or second jaw, whatever people want to call it, rolls it through a fucking entire hallway, a big fucking hallway, locks herself with it into a room and weasels it to death, and then cuts off its head with a paper cutter.
Of course, we don't see that happen. I would have loved to have seen that happen because these scents are really strong. And that's kind of shown.
I mean, she's stronger than a normal human. Okay. But still, the Xenomorph never tried to get her with its tail. And she wrestles it to death and cuts off its head with a paper cutter.
Yes.
So first now, Xenomorphs can be tasered, and all you need to kill it is a paper cutter.
Yeah.
So why?
Yeah. Not only that, Mike, but a paper cutter is normal metal, isn't it?
Yes.
It's normal metal. It's not even strong metal. It's used to cut paper. You're telling me you're going to cut through an organism's neck that has acid for blood that has shown to eat through ships, and you're going to cut through it with a paper cutter? And by the way, the paper cutter at the end is completely intact.
Exactly. Oh, and by the way, they transfer the dead Xenomorph on metal plates, and somehow the acid blood of the Xenomorph does nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't eat through the acid plates.
They contain a Xenomorph in a fucking glass container.
Yeah, which we've seen in Alien 4 that these things are intelligent beings, right? The Xenomorph has never been shown to be a stupid being. So it has also been known to use its own blood to eat through the thing that it is being encapsulated in, right? We see that in Alien 4.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that this thing doesn't know that it could just use its own blood to eat through the glass that it's being contained in? The fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah.
Fuck out of here.
I mean, God. And then episode 4 is where we're back on idiot ship. And
Observation, is the name of this episode.
It goes through how the Xenomorph got loose or whatever. And this is by far the show where you're like,
this is the worst episode.
How did anything work on this ship if the people were so fucking stupid? I mean, people make the complaint with the people on the Nostromo were one or two of them that were astronauts, and the other were basically just cargo workers translating things from A to B. They have no fucking idea what they were dealing with. These are people that, by the way, these are all scientists that have, I don't know, studied whatever fucking biology and rocket science and all that kind of shit. One of them does not know the difference between biology and geology. And now this is a guy that's basically for maintenance. So if you want to be in maintenance for a spaceship, you've probably studied rocket science. So this guy was smart enough to study rocket science, but had no fucking idea that there's a difference between biology and geology.
Yeah. That was also my biggest problem with this part of the episode.
And by the way, what also destroys alien lore is two people get facehuggers on their faces. Now, this is where all of a sudden the facehuggers have acid blood again because they try to remove it and the facehugger kills one of them. Now, because it's convenient for the plot again, all of a sudden facehuggers have acid blood again. So then they place the other one in a hypersleep thing or whatever. And by the way, hypersleep has always worked on xenomorph embryos and facehuggers. Always has worked.
Xenomorph.
For containing, it's always worked. That's literally in every single alien movie, every single alien book, every single alien video game, everything. And now it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. It used to be if you were contaminated, if you had a facehugger on your face, people in the know would stick you in hypersleep and you would be fine until they could get you to somewhere where they could extract it. First time, exactly like you said, first time in Aliens where this thing busts out of somebody's chest while in hypersleep.
Yeah.
How was that overlooked?
There are comics where they have done this. People in books and comics have been saved by the chest burster specifically through this process.
And just to back you up, because I know some people are going to say this, they're going to say that the Dark Horse comics are not canon, right? They're right about a lot of the Dark Horse comics. Unfortunately, the Dark Horse comic that specifically talks about this thing being in somebody's chest and them going into hypersleep to where it stops it, is actually canon. So go fuck yourself.
It's even canon in the novelization of Alien 3.
Yeah, also.
In the novel and in the movie. Because the fucking embryo that Ripley, by the way, has in her, it's impregnated by the royal facehugger, does not mature during hypersleep.
That's right. And it is a queen. Yeah. So she's completely fine when she's in hypersleep. And a lot of people have said this online because I've been reading into this. They're like, but there was an alien, there was a facehugger, there was something that attacked them while they were in hypersleep, and that's why Alien 3 happened. No, they were in hypersleep. There was a facehugger on board that got into the cryotube and impregnated them. Do you think that it got into the cryotube without breaking cryostasis? No. It broke cryostasis, impregnated them, and that's why there were chest busters on board. Ripley was completely fine. Because she was in hypersleep, suspended in animation.
No, but she got impregnated by a royal facehugger. Yeah?
She did, right? But because it broke through the cryotube.
Exactly. And by the way, so that's next point where lore has entirely been destroyed. Now, the chest burster comes out. The captain, or the now acting captain of the ship, knows it's a xenomorph because she says it's a xenomorph. So her and
tells us they know what the fuck these things are.
They know what they are. Her and Captain Hook, that are the two highest people in position, know what they're dealing with. They know this thing is going to mature insanely fucking fast, and they're doing everything but somehow trying to contain it. Everything. Everybody on this ship is literally acting like it's another fucking Tuesday. They have a fucking xenomorph loose on the ship, and they're acting like, what are we gonna eat? What are we gonna eat for dinner tonight?
Yeah, what's for lunch?
And then the xenomorph just appears right behind the acting captain, just looking at her. She turns away.
Right?
Yeah, as it should. She turns away, starts to run. Out runs a full adult xenomorph through 3 corridors that are, by the way, are all like 50 meters long. Yeah? She outruns this xenomorph.
Yeah, that has never happened in any fucking movie.
And by the way,
in fact, Mike, I even went back and looked it up, right? You can go back to all of the movies, 1 through 4. If a xenomorph was next to someone, ever, as close as this thing was to her, it killed them instantly. This thing is a killing machine. If it comes upon something that is a biological life form, it attacks it and kills it. That is the way it's always been.
Well,
this thing looks her over, walks around her, and checks her out for about 30 seconds before it does anything. And then
Yeah,
she
I mean-
decides after 30 seconds to run away.
Yeah, this is the thing when it comes to like when people say like the Xenomorphs are basically killing machines. That is a point where you can say it's a point of perspective because they're predators. The thing is they are highly intelligent, even though it's never really defined how intelligent they are. But they're a kind of bee-like species, more or less, where you're gonna have a hive, and the majority of the workers are all controlled by the queen, and they all do
Right.
everything to protect the hive. If you enter a beehive, they will fucking slaughter you. That's how they are. That's how they're wired. If they meet you outside in the wild, they might just ignore you. And that is why you can specifically compare the behavior of xenomorphs to bees and to ants. Now, by the way, if you have like a xenomorph that's not in a hive, it's still going to try to establish some kind of territory because that's its nature.
Yeah, that's the genetic makeup. That's what they do. That's
It is going to
instinct.
kill
Yeah.
everything that is an intruder to its territory. What is pretty much any other human.
Right.
And this is the thing. This is the first time you're going to already see in episode 1 a xenomorph bitch slap somebody to death.
Yeah.
Because the acting captain eventually gets killed by the xenomorph, because this is where we came back to the beginning scene where Captain Hook is saying, oh, collation with Earth is unavoidable, even though it's clearly avoidable. The xenomorph catches the acting captain and bitch slaps her to death.
There's a bitch slap fight between these two. It is literally
between a human and a xenomorph. I mean, every single encounter that somebody has with a xenomorph is wrestled to death. A normal woman has a bitch slap fight with her. Another android cuts off a xenomorph's head with a paper cutter. You have a fucking eye parasite that I'm going to call Mr. Wiggles now.
Okay.
A lot of people have called him that on the internet. It's not from me, but a lot of people have called him that. I think it's funny.
Okay.
Mr. Wiggles somehow manages to overpower this xenomorph. I'm sorry.
This is the first time, Mike, that we've seen a xenomorph attacked by anything else, right? Except for Alien versus Predator, which that's not really canon, so we're just going to ignore that. But this eyeball creature, Mr. Wiggles, gets into a human body, right? But after it tries to attack the xenomorph, this tiny little eyeball monster jumps onto the xenomorph trying to get into its eye socket, which it doesn't have an eye socket. This xenomorph acts like someone who is at a picnic that has a fucking, like a wasp on its face. Like, that's how the xenomorph acts. This creature that is the ultimate terror gets taken down by an organism that is about this big, to the point that it's unable to do anything for about a minute, right? And then when this thing gets into a human body and jumps on top of the xenomorph is completely powerless against this thing. How? Dude, how?
It bites into the xenomorph's flesh with nothing happening to the host.
Yeah, no acid, blood, no nothing.
Human teeth are now totally invulnerable to acid.
Yeah.
And
to be fair, the xenomorph finally kills this thing. It kills the human host, right? But you don't see any damage on the human host face. There's no like acid deterioration or anything on the body. Just completely ignored. Like,
I'm
acid
sorry,
blood in this entire series is ignored until it's a plot device.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, but whoever wrote this and thought they were doing something intelligent is an idiot. I'm sorry. And I might be insulting specifically the director and the writers about this, but yeah, I'm sorry. You are idiots. And by the way, and also Noah Haley came out and said, like, I did not want to make the xenomorph a pet. You wrote this script. You edited it. You went through a casting process with actors, recorded it, then edited the movie, gave it to Disney to be released. You wrote the descriptions about it. You probably were a part of the entire marketing for it, and you did not know you were doing this. If that's the case, and you're not lying,
it's bullshit.
You're stupid. If they did not know what they were doing with the xenomorph here, if that is true, everybody that was involved with this is a complete fucking idiot.
Yeah. Or a liar.
If not, they're lying. They're just flat out lying. Yeah. This is the worst we have bashed anything.
So we're back from our break. We realized just now, as I'm going through what happens in each episode, that we kind of skipped episode 4, but that's okay. Because nothing important happens in episode 4. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Episode 5 is the episode where we get the crew of the ship where everybody's stupid. Things don't work out real well. We have a xenomorph that likes to watch its prey for 30 seconds before attacking it, and then the xenomorph gets attacked by a eye creature that inhabits a human, and all that stuff we already talked about. This thing is a fucking mess, Mike. I have a real problem going through this just because it's so fucking bad. Like, it just makes me fucking angry. Everybody's going to be like, oh, you guys are just nothing but a bunch of rage nerds with a podcast. Not really. I mean, this is one of those things that you kind of have to stand up for and say, no, absolutely not. Right?
Yeah.
In that last episode we're talking about, In Space, No One is the title of it. There's new species that are kind of introduced that we got introduced to at the beginning of the show when they showed up at the crash site and picked them up. There's no
tick,
payoff.
The eye monster, the super ticks, and those kind of things.
Yeah, there's no payoff to these new creatures whatsoever. Suddenly there's eyeball parasites and other critters. A lot of the comments that are online, there's a lot of fans that noted a lack of useful foreshadowing and feeling that species were kind of dropped into flash spectacle rather than expanding the xenomorph lore meaningfully. So
I mean,
the whole reason for these other critters is to take focus off of how bad they're doing the xenomorph.
Exactly.
That's what it is. Like, they were like, oh, we did the xenomorph so fucking bad that we have to add other creatures.
Yeah, the thing is, when it comes to these other creatures, I mean, if these creatures are now, I'm totally cool with these creatures being canon and coming from the same planet as the xenomorphs, because there are parasitic and it makes sense. I mean, that's that thing with the entire alien creatures they throw into it. It's fine. It's great, actually. I like them. I like the super vampire.
I have no problem with it. They're all great, man.
I like the super vampire ticks from hell. No. I like the demonic alien plants, not plants, but they're plants, but they're not the fucking Venus trap from hell. I also like. I even like Mr.
Yeah, the
Wiggles,
plumbacore is what it's called.
I don't give a fuck what it's called. It's the Venus trap from hell.
Yeah.
Then you have the octopus, Mr. Wiggles, and all in itself, I think these creatures are interesting, and I like them. Yeah. And I would actually like if they stay a part of the canon, specifically because this is another thing that makes also everybody on this fucking ship like complete fucking idiots. It's stated in the first episode that they lost a large portion of their crew. So these are like these people went on to the planet wherever the xenomorphs were, and I'm going to assume now that they found all these other creatures. I mean, it would be actually cool to say that these creatures all come from the same planet. They developed there, but somehow the majority of the species from this planet are parasitic to some degree. Because that's one thing every single one of these species has in common, by the way. Yeah. So it makes sense if, like, Mr. Wiggles and the super vampire ticks are immune to the blood of the xenomorph, if they somehow developed on the same planet or whatever, who knows. But this is the thing. These people specifically went onto this planet with who knows how many of them, captured these creatures, losing more than half their crew, and still after all of that, they're acting like they have no idea what's going on.
Well, here's the other thing, Mike. So there's never any mention of another planet that they went to. There's a mention of them picking up these species, right? So this is where a lot of fans of what Ridley Scott did with the prequels are wondering if they're going to tie in the prequels to this series, because there's no specific mention in this first season if they went to another ship that they found crash landed, or if they went to a planet and took these things. There's no mention of it. So it could very well be that they got these organisms from the ship that David crash landed somewhere, picking up different organisms, right? So if they do that, and here's the thing about Disney, I feel like Noah Hawley, he said it too in an interview. He said, I don't want to expand on what Ridley Scott did with the prequels. I want to act like those didn't exist. But I feel like the prequels are a fallback in case this doesn't do well, because they can grab a lot of fans in season 2 if they say, you know what, we did a really bad job with this. The writing is atrocious. Maybe we should fall back on the prequels with the black goo. And that might be what they do. They might try to explain away the third prequel film that we didn't get by saying, he crash landed the ship, gathered all these organisms, and these guys went and picked them up, right? Now, like you said, I am completely fine with the fact that these creatures are in the series because they make the series interesting.
Yeah, they're the only thing.
Hard to say that because the alien, the Xenomorph, should be interesting enough to carry this series, but it's not because they shit all over it. So they had to add these creatures in some way, and that's why these creatures are here. And arguably, Mike, these creatures are more interesting than the Xenomorph is. No?
That was the entire fucking point. They did not put any thought into the Xenomorph or whatever because they were more focused on everything else. They were more focused on the vampire.
I can agree with that.
On all the other aliens, except for the Xenomorph. The Xenomorph in this show had no focus. Neither in writing, neither in filming, neither in design, nothing. Because every single other creature is better written, better designed, has better special effects than the Xenomorph. It's not like they did not put these alien creatures into this show because they knew the Xenomorph was so bad. They just threw the Xenomorph in it so they could still call it alien.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah. Can we talk about the Xenomorph for a second? Not just the behavior, but just the overall look of this thing. Okay. So if the Xenomorph is born of a human host, it does not matter how big the human host is to the Xenomorph, because we've seen in Aliens that roughly they were all the exact same size. They looked a little different from the Xenomorph in the first film, but that's neither here nor there. They wanted a different design, whatever. The size of the creature did not change. And even in Aliens versus Predator, which is not canon, these things are around 7 feet tall, right? So tell me why in this series, for the first time, we are getting a Xenomorph born of a human host that is only 5'6", because that's how big this thing is. It is 5'6". It's not even a full 6 feet. Why? Why take something that is menacing, gigantic, and scary and reduce it to the size of a short guy? This thing is not terrifying anymore, Mike.
No,
this thing does not strike fear into the hearts of anybody. It doesn't tower over its
They turn it into a lapdog. I mean, they absolutely is what they did. I mean, not only that, the Xenomorph is controlled by Wendy. I mean, I posted this on my private website, the how to train your Xenomorph meme. Because it's what it is. The Xenomorph is now a cuddly lapdog. It's what it There is nothing terrifying. There is nothing scary about it. I mean, to a certain degree, you can understand. Logically, it makes sense. You can say that Wendy somehow tripped over the exact same frequency the Queen communicates with the other Xenomorphs. I don't really have the issue with Wendy being able to control the Xenomorphs. That in itself was also done in the comics by another character. But,
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just like, they did not reduce the Xenomorphs to a fucking lapdog.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is they didn't really go out of their way to explain that. And that bothers me too. So if you let's ignore the comic books for a minute and just stick with what we've seen on film. In 500 years, which is when we see what happens in Alien 4, right? So they've created a Xenomorph that is a kind of hybrid between Ripley and the Xenomorph, right? It's got her DNA and their DNA, and that's the creatures that we see. These things are fucking uncontrollable. There's nothing that you can, and we see humans in Alien 4 trying to control these things and teach them things, right?
By the way, the people in Alien 4, just like you said, their technology should be 500 years more advanced than the people we have in this show.
Right.
And they couldn't contain Xenomorphs. They couldn't control them. But now, oogly googly, zippity zop, they can.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're telling me that these synths, which is what Wendy is, she's a synth. She's a hybrid, but she's a synth. You're telling me that during all this time, there was not one synth that developed the ability that she has? And by the way, there's no explaining that away. There's no explaining away why she now has that ability. We get a shitty scene where they have put the embryo inside of a human lung that is behind glass. And all of a sudden, it trips her sensors and she goes unconscious because she hears the screaming of a Xenomorph, which happens to be that embryo that's in the lung, right? That happened out of nowhere. And there's no explanation as to why she has this frequency. And then out of nowhere, when she has the frequency, not only can she use her mouth to create the frequency to control the xenomorphs, she automatically knows how to use it. So she doesn't just say, hey, you, I'm talking to you. She says, hey, you, go do this, 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 and this. She's barking orders to this thing like she can completely communicate with it. And how? Plot armor. Fucking plot armor. Even Alien 4 didn't tap dance around this shit. At least it tried to explain stuff away. This doesn't explain anything. It's just like, oh, now magically she has the ability to communicate and give orders to the xenomorph for whatever fucking reason. Get the fuck out of here, man. Come on. Fucking irritating.
Yeah, this is okay. Then we can get into like the other episodes. I think we're now around episode 6, 7, and 8, right? Yeah, this is another thing by the way.
Yeah, episode 6.
Episode 6 and episode 7. Okay, by the way, Captain Hook so far has been communicating with Smee on Neverland. Captain Hook has kidnapped Smee's family and is trying to push him to destabilize the island. That's basically what's happening. Yeah?
Right.
And he tells him to take a person into the room with the face huggers and blah. So that's basically what's, kind of happened. It is already established in episode 3, 4 somewhere, I'm not entirely sure, that Prodigy is recording everything these synths see and hear, and they do not know what's happening. Okay, and this is like, okay, then you have like at the scene where you see like Mr. Darling getting the face hugger on his face, and Peter Pan is like, oh, is everything okay? Tinkerbell looks up at Peter Pan and is like, yeah, sure. And
everything's
like,
fine.
Okay, first this makes things that Tinkerbell is trying to portray Peter Pan, but they immediately retcon that in the beginning of the next episode.
Yes, they do. It feels like it was meant to go a different way, but they changed it because they realized that way wasn't going to work.
However, this is like,
it's haphazard writing.
This is like, okay. Then Smee and one of the other Lost Boys try to take this guy out after he has the face on his face. Tinkerbell catches them, and Smee tries to explain it away, and Tinkerbell is like, I know that already. So they know what these androids have been doing since.
Yeah.
And then he tells them, just take it over there. Then he tells them where to take the guy with the face hugger on his face. And it's like, this is an android, not a human, making these decisions. And the point is,
this is a normal sin.
They know how dangerous these xenomorphs are. One of them has already escaped. It is highly unclear if they can contain it again. And he wants to go in the risk of releasing another one. Okay. Eventually what happens is Smee and the other android almost get this guy to wherever Captain Hook wants him to be, until the face hugger falls off his face. And all of a sudden he's like, oh shit, what happened? Because he doesn't remember anything. Okay, whatever. Mr. Darling eventually convinces Smee and the other lost boy to return back to Peter Pan so they can, figure shit out when the chest burster comes out. No? The chest burster comes out of Mr. Darling and then fucks off. What a Xenomorph usually does.
By the way, Mike, Mr. Darling is completely aware of what these creatures are, what they do, and how they work. So you're telling me that he woke up not knowing that he was going to have a chest burster bust out of his chest? He acted like nothing happened. Like he had no idea what happened. He knows exactly what happened, but for whatever reason, the character doesn't know. What the fuck?
And by the way, the toddler xenomorph, by the way, in every single other Alien movie, these toddler xenomorphs vanished until they were mature.
Right. This is the first time we've seen one that's small.
These are when they were on claustrophobic ships where they had no hiding spaces whatsoever. They managed to do this instantly. This xenomorph on a fucking island that could hide anywhere instantly gets catched. Just
Mike, let me delve into something really important here, okay? So I'm not going to be an elitist and say that I'm not okay with new things being introduced that we didn't see before, right? But when you and I did Romulus, we talked about the wall vagina, right? You remember the wall vagina?
Yeah.
The alien cocoon that the alien goes into as it's maturing into a full xenomorph? That is Disney. That is one of their most profitable movies thus far, is Romulus. And what they established was when the chest buster came out, it sealed itself into a cocoon on the wall until it was fully grown. Yeah, totally fine with that. like that's just newly introduced. You can explain away that we didn't see that in Alien and Aliens. I'm okay with that. I was okay with it when it happened. This right here, what happens with this xenomorph not being fully developed, is completely outside of Disney's own canon that they created with Romulus. This thing did not go into some type of wall vagina. It didn't go into some type of cocoon. It is just walking around growing up. You just betrayed your own lore that you created in a movie not but 1 year ago. How? Wow. Come on, man. Like, if you guys create something and you say this is now part of the canon, can you not stick with that? Now the canon
No,
is all over the fucking place.
because the people that write this shit at Disney, they don't care. I mean, other writers of other movies and series have specifically been told by Disney to ignore canon.
How can you do that? How can you do that? Like, we are now creating stuff, and this is my problem. We are creating stuff for people who do not care about canon at all. They don't care about established tropes. They don't care about previous stories. They don't care about anything. Now anything can be its standalone story and ignore everything else that has happened, even in their own franchises. Can you imagine, Mike? Let's for a second. You had a Ghostbuster film. You have the first one, which is amazing, right? Let's say Disney took that over and just rewrote everything and said, you know what? There is no containment unit. There is no place where they put ghosts. Ghosts can't be contained. We're just going to accept that. And now everybody believes that. And now, after they've made that movie where there is no containment unit, where ghosts are contained, in the next film, they say, oh, yeah, you know what? By the way, there is a containment unit and ghosts can be contained. So just ignore that last movie. You are destroying everything that you created with your last episode of whatever IP that you're using. There is no cohesiveness here. There is no respect for any story writing at all. That's what pisses me off the most about this shit, Mike. It ignores everything. And alien fans are just eating this shit up like it's great. What the fuck? I just like, has the world gone stupid, dude? Have they gone fucking stupid?
To be honest, we shitted on Romulus, no? But Romulus did not really destroy lore or canon or whatever. It did a few things that were nonsensical and that did not make much sense entirely, but you can't say that it, destroyed, that it ignored canon or destroyed the lore or whatever. You could dial down the entire, everything, all of our complaints regarding Alien Romulus. You can dial that down to poor execution, pretty much.
I mean, we hated it. We hated it. But I feel like with enough gusto and with enough like sci-fi nerdiness, like you said, you can explain it away, right? You can't explain anything away in this series.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Because it comes down to the point that Disney cannot create anything else but Disney princess stories. They can't create any complex story. They suck at world building. It makes no sense. Because when the next scene happens, it totally forgets what happens in the previous scene. Totally. And if you write a complex story, you have to at least be consistent with what you're introducing. This series retcons itself in each episode.
Yeah. So we establish a trope, which a trope is just basically a rule, right? And this follows with every horror movie that ever existed. You establish a rule and then you don't break that rule. The only time rules in horror movies get broken is if another writer comes along and says, hey, you know what? I'm going to do a reboot. And if you do a reboot, then you can break tropes. That's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that because it's a reboot. You change the rules, you change everything about it. This show acts like every single episode is a reboot. And that bothers the shit out of me because you can't expect one thing from the next episode that follows the rules of the last episode. It drives me fucking crazy. So this thing is the ultimate killing machine, right? And it's shown itself to be the ultimate killing machine. And then it's not the ultimate killing machine. And then the other species that are in here of alien are even more dangerous than that alien. And then they take precedence over the xenomorph, right? And then we go back to the xenomorph. And the xenomorph that we see now is not the same fucking xenomorph we saw in the last episode. It's no longer dangerous. It's no longer scary.
You have multiple soldiers with high-tech weapons shooting everything they have at this xenomorph. And the bullets do nothing to it. Literally, the beginning of the next episode, it gets hurt by a single bullet and
Yeah.
runs away.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. It retconned itself from one episode to the other, not even in a span of 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plot armor. You can say, so
Yeah,
the
no, it's
alien,
absolute plot armor.
the alien is the Xenomorph is an indestructible killing machine until it's not.
Yeah.
But then it's a killing machine again when it is one, until it's not again. The Xenomorphs do not have acid blood unless somehow they have to have acid blood for a reason.
I just don't I don't understand.
Characters that are supposed to be highly intelligent act like complete fucking idiots the entire time until within the plot, one of them has to make a smart decision. That person is smart for a minute until they revert to acting like a complete fucking idiot again.
Yeah, yeah. We ignore things that characters have done before and the intelligence they had before, and now they're just completely fucking stupid. Like, Mike, I gotta be honest with you, dude. Like, we could go through the next 3 episodes, but I kind of just want to skip forward to 8 because at this point, after talking about it, I'm just like, there's no point in going through.
Yeah.
There's no point.
I mean, we've talked.
I can go ahead.
Well, we've talked about episodes 5, 6, and 7 already. Pretty much the worst things, and pretty much, yeah. There's nothing actually important happening in 5, 6, and 7. Not really. Basically, episode 5, 6, and 7 is them fucking around with the aliens until everything goes wrong and all of these alien creatures break out. And everything goes to shit. That is episode 5 to 6, 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Now let's jump to episode 8.
Okay. So do you want to sum up episode 8 and kind of say what happens, or do you want me to jump into why this is the most rushed, ridiculous piece of pseudo writing I have ever seen in cinematic history? Or do you want to just talk about it first? Because this is, for me, this episode was the icing on the cake in so many bad ways. Like, it felt like towards the end of this thing, they realized that they fucked up. They realized that they had made a huge mistake, and they realized also, and you can probably talk about this, viewership by episode 8 had fallen off by almost 42%. Right? And so this episode 8 felt like, holy crap, we need to do a finale really quick, and we need to leave a cliffhanger so that we can get opened up for the next season. That's what this felt like. It felt so fucking rushed. Right? Do you want to talk about your ideas about viewership and how that is kind of portrayed to the public in one way, even though it's kind of another way? Because you explained it to me like with Supergirl, right? Explain how this shit works to everybody who doesn't understand.
Okay, well, with a lot of these things, what point should I start at? Because there's a lot I could explain.
I don't know. There's so many bad points, Mike.
When it comes to things when I'm explaining, I'm not sure if I'll bring up the point again. Very often with TV shows, movies, video games, popularity of something is faked. And the media, social media, whatever, you will see multiple campaign portraying something as popular. Alien Earth, you can pretty much see as when the first episode aired, the first 2 or 3 or whatever, then it said 10 million people watched this show. What in itself is a very positive number. You can't say anything to that. But the thing is, this is a franchise that is so well known. Of course, it's going to have 10 million viewers in the first episode. The point is, that number is irrelevant if you do not mention the views of all other episodes. That number becomes irrelevant. It's the same thing as if, for example, somebody saying like, oh my God, I have so much issues earning money. My costs are in 5 figures. Sounds bad. But if your earnings are in 7 figures without showing how much you
Is it
earn,
really that bad?
that number in itself is misleading and totally irrelevant because it doesn't say anything. Now, that's the point that I'm bringing up when I explained to you when it came to Alien Earth, because it had 10 million views. They did the exact same thing with Supergirl. The entire CW did it with all of its shows. What they did not show is anything after that. They did not show basically at the end of Supergirl season 1, as it only had 4 million views. We have viewership loss of 60% in that series. No, season 2 Supergirl only had 5 million views at the beginning. No? Season 3, only 3 million. Season 4, 5, and 6 barely even cracked 2 million. Multiple episodes in season 6 of Supergirl did not even reach 1 million views. And media, social media, the entire internet, till nowadays, is portraying the Supergirl show as one of the most popular superhero shows ever created. If you go anywhere on the internet, Melissa Benet's Supergirl is portrayed as the best and the most popular, even though the objective numbers that cannot lie say an entirely different thing. Melissa Benet is not invited to any comic, no? Now, and the thing is, a lot of people says like, because, yeah, but posts about it get a lot of likes or whatever. This is the thing. When you take a lot of these people, with Supergirl, for example, no? If they have 1 million people that like the show from 10 million, that's still 1 million people that are going to talk about it on the internet. What makes it appear to be a lot of people, even though it's not. That is what makes the internet, social media, extremely misleading, because in a lot of situations, you never really have the full context, and it does not really show you how much these people are from the entire thing. No? And that's what I brought up to you with Alien Earth, what I basically explained. It could be that this show had 10 million views in the beginning, but did it have them in the end? Because even if this show has 1 million people from those 10 left, and the other 9 people think it sucked, that 1 million people, they are the ones that are going to write shit on the internet. This applies to anything. If it applies to YouTube videos, if it applies to reviews, if it applies to anything, the people liking and commenting are always a fraction. Always. Because even in the most popular YouTube videos, YouTube will take, for example, if you see like the likes, you're going to have a video, 20 million likes, and about 20,000 people liking it, and maybe a few thousand people commenting on it. Now, even though you can take that as an indicator into what kind of opinions you have among those people, but there's it's extremely difficult to say which amount of these people are 20% or 30% or whatever. That's extremely difficult, and that is something that the internet can not really do accurately with AI bots. What makes it very easy to portray things that are actually quite popular as not popular, and portray things that are absolutely not popular as popular. Now, also another good example of what I explained was the Rings of Power. No, that, by the way, only had half the viewership at the beginning of season 2 than episode 1, but still is being portrayed as successful. No. And those are the things that I bring up, or that I basically explained to you. And you have a similar situation. It was done the same thing with Star Wars, the exact same thing. Star Wars being portrayed as this super successful thing, and the sequel trilogy. And you have like people talking about the sequel trilogy, Acolyte, and all of those kind of things. The Last Jedi, you have the exact same situation you have now with Alien Earth. No? They said like, it had this much viewers and this much. What it did not show is that Rise of Skywalker had only made about 1 billion. I mean, of course, it's a lot, not to say a degree.
Yeah, of course.
Comparing it to the first one that made
it made a shitload of money.
That made comparing it to the first part, The Force Awakens, that made 2.6 billion. That's a revenue reduction of 60%. That's not success.
Right.
That's not successful. That's less successful, and that's what they're doing with Alien Earth. Alien Earth is going to be a similar situation as The Last Jedi. It's now being portrayed as a success, and the people hating on it are going to be portrayed. They're going to be portrayed as a loud minority. They're going to be portrayed as every fucking name in the book you can come up with, and they're mostly going to be ignored by Disney, because that's what in entertainment a lot of these people do. And the thing is, also something I explained to you. Now, when it comes to Alien Earth, you have like the people absolutely loving it, and a lot of the people absolutely hating it. This is also something I think I explained to you once. Both of these people are equally loud minorities.
That's why I want you to talk about this stuff, is because I don't feel like a lot of people understand this. Until I talk to you, like, so for you guys that don't know what Mike is extremely ADHD and also follows this stuff more than anybody else does. And when you look at the numbers, the thing, it's just like in the military, numbers don't lie. If you look at numbers, numbers are the only thing that tell you the truth. And when you look at numbers for shows, you can tell how it actually pans out instead of people that are next to you or on the internet are telling you, oh, this show is amazing, it's great, it's wonderful, right? But there are a million other people who think this show is shit. But what you're going to be told by the media and what you're going to be told by people online that are connected to Disney, everybody's bots nowadays online, right? Is this show is amazing and it's going to make you want to go see it. But by the end of this show specifically, we lost 40% of viewership by episode 5.
Yes.
By episode 5. And there's a big reason for that. It's a huge
I
betrayal.
haven't actually looked into those numbers yet, but you know that would make actually that is actually worse than Supergirl and the CW shows because they did not have that fall until the end.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
okay, I haven't really looked into the viewership. It's also hard to come by real numbers because Disney does not really release them. You know, so it's
No, they're
kind
not
of
going
makes it
to.
really
They don't
difficult
want to. Why would they release the numbers? I mean, you never want to release the truth about something, especially if it's a moneymaker like this one is.
Yeah, that's also the thing that I think I told you. No, with a lot of these shows, when something is successful, they brag about it. I mean, they literally don't stop bragging about it. No, video game industry is very, very specific when it comes to this kind of things. But also in shows, they'll brag about how much people watched it, how successful it is, and blah blah blah. They will do that all day long. If they stop bragging about how successful the show is, no, that means something. If you think of like critically acclaimed series, that does not mean much. It's that means a bunch of people that work in a company that do it for a living sat down, watched it, and liked it. That is literally what that means.
Yeah.
So critically
Right.
acclaimed. It's not saying that. I'm not saying that like a lot of people would say access media or that kind of stuff. That's also.
Yeah, right.
I would say I think it might be a little bit more complex. No. But to a certain degree, that's what it says. Just like on the other hand, when it said like user scores or whatever, well, they are more telling of what people think, but you also can take them for face value because it's equally what can be faked. But you also have the thing you have like when it comes to, because they say like review bombing, for example. I'm actually very surprised that they haven't brought up review bombing of Alien Earth. I'm surprised about that. Really am.
Because I think it's probably been blocked. I think it's been blocked.
Maybe. But when it comes to a lot of these things, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, The Last of Us 2, Spider-Man 2, God of War Ragnarok, all of these other things that have the extreme controversial reaction from people, every single time in the month these video games, movies, TV shows are released, you had multiple articles on review. Multiple. No? Why not this time?
I don't know.
Now, by the way, the thing is, when it comes to review bombing, if you look into any show, any movie, or whatever, on the day they release, you will see if it's Rotten Tomatoes, if it's Metascore, or all these other things, whatever, you will see multiple critical reviews that give movie, TV show, video game a good score, and what they write is exactly the same thing. All of them. They're all writing the exact same thing. So review bombing, by the way, happens on both sides, but it's only portrayed as bad when the review bombing is coming from the side of the viewers and the fans. Then it's bad. Okay. But when it's done by the other side, and it is done by the other side.
Of course. Yes.
More than you people think. I mean, Dragon Age of the Guard, prime example of this. Got 10 out of 10 scores whatsoever everywhere. If you like or dislike the game, that's an entirely different thing. But every single score, not now, but when it came out, the first 2-3 days, word for word, the exact same text. Thousands.
Right. Of
giving
course.
it a 10 out of 10.
Of course. Yeah. Of course.
And
you are all controlled
we are having
to believe
a similar situation.
What they want you to believe. That's the thing. I don't think anybody realizes that.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not like, and if you have like, and the thing is, when it comes to social media and the media, no, you are going to hear this critically acclaimed masterpiece from Alien Earth, and 5 minutes later, you're going to hear this is the worst thing that has ever been created, basically. And you're going to see that from 1 minute to the next. And in none of these articles are they actually going to apply any source, anything that's relevant, anything that might bring on some kind of context. It doesn't matter if it's social media or if it's critics. They all do it the same way or whatever. Now, and by the way, when it comes to a review, a movie review or whatever, at the end of the day, all it is some guy's opinion. So taking it as an objective measurement is kind of false to begin with. And Just like I say,
Yeah.
to begin with, a lot of these things when it comes to TV shows are extremely misleading. Never trust them to begin with. Always look at the patterns, and you will be able to see the patterns with this show that they have been doing with anything else. It's the exact same pattern. It's the exact same pattern with Supergirl, with Rings of Power, with Batwoman, with Dragon Age the Veil Guard, with Star Wars Outlaws, with what else? Snow White, with Ariel the Mermaid. All
Yeah.
of these things. Terminator Dark Fate. It's the exact same pattern.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, the whole thing is about money, right? I mean, it's about how much viewership
that's
shows up to watch a show or to play a video game or whatever, and it's all about the money. It's never so we've merged into an area now where money controls everything, story drives nothing. Story doesn't mean anything anymore. So if you watch anything in the theater or you watch it on TV, it is all about viewership. It is all about money. It's not about the IP. It's not about how much people care about the story. And that started honestly with Star Wars. That was your first indicator that things were going on. Well, I mean, tell me, Mike, did it start before that? Because that was the first time that I noticed it. As someone who loves movies, as someone who loves horror, as someone who loves sci-fi, that was the first time that I noticed it. I was like, everybody is being controlled. Everybody is being fed some line of bullshit to go see something that they supposedly care about. And it was obvious. And anyone who's a real Star Wars fan realizes that. No?
I mean, maybe
Was it before
that's the
that?
first time it happened with Star Wars. That was the first time it happened where you could not really deny it. For me,
Okay.
with these things, I would have to kind of think back. When did I start to recognize these things? I think it was
Well,
before the
leave
pandemic.
video games out of it and go with movies or shows. Because
movies
video
and
games
shows?
started a lot sooner
Okay,
than movies.
if it goes
did
with
this
movies
kind
and
of
shows,
bullshit.
then I can tell you when I started recognizing it. I started recognizing it before I was 20.
Okay.
Before the internet was a part of culture. That's when I started recognizing these. I started recognizing, for example, when it comes to politics, when it comes to the news, this is the most popular politician of whatever. But everybody hates him. How does that make sense? How does it make
Yeah.
sense, for example, that, Queen of the Damned came out in the early 2000s? Such a successful movie, but it stopped running after 3 weeks. How is that possible? By
Yeah.
the way, how
Okay.
was it possible? And I always had this question that when the critics hated a movie, a lot of people loved it. And when the critics loved the movie, movies tended to flop sometimes. And this is
Yeah.
all things I started to notice before I was 20 years old. This is
Okay.
before the internet actually started being a thing. And I already was noticing this shit. When it comes to entertainment, that's where it's the most noticeable. Not because in a lot of situations,
Yeah.
when it comes to entertainment, they often don't even try to cover it up. That's why you can find it out that easily. And it's just like I always had this kind of feeling and I was noticing these things. So I stopped watching news, listening to radio, or reading the newspaper when I was, I would say, I think I was 19 at that time.
Yeah.
And this was before social media even existed. And the thing is, social media just took this problem and it made it worse. I mean, I've been on the internet since internet, you can say, was publicly available. Since you could actually use internet to search for information. It was mind-blowing to me, always, was that through the internet, I did not need any media outlet, anything. It replaced anything. I pretty much knew a lot of things going on long before anything was mentioned on the news. I mean, I did not know if it was true or not because a lot of it is rumors. And the thing, a lot of it is going to nowadays. I mean, it was never really easy to figure out
Of
what's
course.
true and what's not on the internet. No? Social media just made that itself more difficult. But even long before 2010s, even long before any of this thing was a thing, I was not really following media. Even now, not the entire thing. I
Yeah.
don't follow media on a lot of things, politics or whatever, and I basically know what's going on. What I'm just saying is I am largely aware of what's going on without paying attention to any of this stuff. What's being said in media in any way. So how relevant are they actually? And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I do actually delve into a lot of conspiracy theories because I find them amusing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody does, man. Me
I
too.
think they're funny
Me
as shit, but
included.
I don't believe any of this shit, you know. But this is where I come up with Alien Earth. I do think that to a very large degree, the popularity of this show is purely being faked. And I think there are a lot of normies out there that are watching this show. And like, yeah, okay, it's fine, it's good. No, it's an alien show. It has Xenomorphs killing people. And there's a lot of those people too. And that's fine. And to be honest, if you like the show, okay, that's fine as well. I mean, but don't say it's a good show. It's not.
Yeah.
It
That's kind
sucks.
of where I'm at. Without even getting into the last episode, like I passed beyond even wanting to go through every episode with episode 6. I was just like, is there really any point anymore? I wanted us
Yeah.
to kind of de-evolve this thing into what it is and then just give up. I love horror. I love music. I love everything that has to do with things that normal human beings don't really think about, or at least the darker side of things. And for me, horror makes me feel good. It makes me feel scared. And that's what I love about horror. Everybody that really loves horror loves that part of it. And what you're watching with this show and anything that is kind of like this, where you take a sacred IP, was good writing, that was great acting, and made it something special, that cemented itself in history as something special. This series shits all over it. And if you are supporting this kind of crap, you're just another robot in the system. I can't give this series any credit. I can't give most things that come out of the horror community in the last couple of years any credit because it is all about ratings, it is all about money, and it makes me sad. It makes me really sad. I don't even want to go through episode 8. I just want to let it go.
At the end, when it comes down in episode 8, it reverts everything back to Peter Pan, literally.
Yeah. Go ahead and explain that so this episode is not for naught.
Yeah, Wendy basically looks at Peter Pan, Boy Cavalier, and explains to him he's not actually Peter Pan. And it even brings up Captain Hook now having his arm removed with a piece of metal. It does that. And the show pretty much ends up with the the hybrids, taking over the island and locking up Tinkerbell, Peter Pan, Captain Hook.
I might add, this ending here is a last-ditch effort to get people to hang on for the second season because they leave it at an absolute cliffhanger where everybody who has anything at stake is locked up inside of a kind of a room with bars on it. And the one xenomorph that's left, plus the tiny one that hasn't quite developed yet, are hanging out together on the side of the cage. And that's where we leave it. There is no final real ending. There is no conflict resolution. There's nothing. They leave it wide open so that Disney just says, okay, you can have a second season because you left it as a cliffhanger, right? It's kind of how it feels.
Absolutely. That's how it is. Yeah, that's absolutely how it feels. And yeah, what should I say? The show sucks. It is the worst thing that has ever been put out in the Alien franchise. And I mean, the special effects are good. The acting is also good. You can't complain about anything the actors are doing because
Yeah, I
they're
mean,
all
we
fine.
can praise it. We can praise it for what it
Yeah.
has. I mean, like you said,
Yeah,
special
I mean-
effects are amazing. The acting is really fucking good. There's not one character that didn't do what they were supposed to do. They all act like they're supposed to act.
Yeah, yeah. And they had interesting concepts in this show, definitely. But the thing is, these are all concepts that in themselves would have been interesting for individual shows,
Of course.
but not
I would have
together.
watched the shit out of this
mean,
if it wasn't about a xenomorph.
This is just like I said. We have another person that came in and they want to do everything different, and they put so much focus on everything in this show except for the xenomorphs, and that is the biggest issue. Everything, writing was not relevant. The xenomorph was not that important. Nothing in this universe was important. Clearly, to Noah Haley is doing something different. That's all he cared about. He just wanted to do it differently. So he created all of these other alien species that haven't been there before and focused 100% on that because that is the one thing in the show where there's no flaws.
Yeah, of course.
Everything else.
Absolutely. As a standalone show without the xenomorph and just these other creatures, it would have been amazing. I would have watched that through season 9. It's great.
Yeah, but
this is an alien show,
that's the
dude.
kind of thing. But even that does not explain away the bad writing, the plot holes, the show retconning itself after
Over and
each
over
episode,
and over and over and over
over
again.
and over.
Yeah.
That does not explain that away. You can clearly see what Noah Hawley's focus was. And he wanted to be outside of the box. So he was outside of the box. And he focused only on being outside the box and didn't give a shit about what was inside the box to begin with. That's why everything he created outside of the box is flawless, but everything that is now inside of the box makes no sense anymore.
So this is The Last Jedi for Alien. That's exactly what this is. This is
Yes.
misrepresentation of everything that the original series meant. It's a betrayal of every trope that was established in every Aliens film. And it is a please like what we did because we did something different kind of show. Right? Fair?
Exactly. Yeah, that's fair. That's
Okay.
absolutely what it is. I 100% agree with that.
Okay.
And yeah, continue.
I have nothing else to say about this, dude. Like I'm beyond being disgusted by even having to do this episode because I
Me
love
neither.
Aliens so much.
What I have to say about this
My
is,
message to Disney, though, my message to Disney would be, do not fucking renew this show. Do not fucking renew this show. Please just go do another movie and maybe stick to some tropes.
yeah.
Act like this
Yeah.
didn't happen.
No, I mean, the thing is, I might watch Alien Romulus 2 that's coming up now. Because I would not necessarily say that Alien, even though we shit on it, I would say that Alien Romulus in any kind of a way destroyed me wanting to see any Fear the movies down that on the line that one was going down. But I am not going to watch anything from Season Earth.
No.
Anything coming
No,
from now.
I'm done too. I'm done.
I'm not watching it. I'm done with it. I never wanted to watch it to begin with.
I made you.
Yeah. Matt more or less made me watch it because it would be the same thing with Picard. I watched Picard and I turned it off after 20 minutes. I'm not watching this shit. And it was the same thing with this show. I watched 20 minutes of it and I knew this is going to suck and I turned it off.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to sit down and watch a show if I already know after 20 minutes this show is going to fucking piss me off.
I'm sorry about that, Mike. But at the same time, we kind of have a responsibility to this. You know what I mean? Like if we ignore some things that come out of the horror community and we don't say something about them, then we're not really doing our job with this podcast. And for me, Alien is one of the most sacred IPs to horror. And if we don't say something about this, then it's almost like agreeing with everything that they do. And I'm not going to agree with it. I want to say what needs to be said. And for real horror fans that are watching this, people that really appreciate the art of a horror film and everything that's nostalgic about horror from the 80s and the 70s, you agree with us. I know you do. I know you do. And that's the reason we did this. Because this kind of shit cannot be allowed to continue, in my opinion. This should not happen. This should have never been fucking greenlit. And I'm going to say something about that. And we have a responsibility to. So I don't feel bad about it.
No, I don't feel bad about it either. I am not watching anything coming from Alien Earth. And I am also
I will not make you watch the next few seasons. I am not going to watch them either. Done.
Yep. And I am not going to watch anything that Noah Hawley does. Nothing.
Ever again. No.
I haven't.
No. It's
Never.
just like Ryan Johnson. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson, you do anything
I
else, I'm done. I'm not watching it.
I haven't seen Andor. A lot of people say it's a good show. Huh? I watched the first episode of Andor, and I fell asleep because I thought it was boring as shit.
Okay. So controversial opinion. I think Andor was great, but I mean, it's not horror, so we don't have to discuss it here anyway.
Yeah, but that's only my opinion. That's all I'm gonna say. So the thing is, I'm not going to make much of a comment on Andor because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But now I'm not going to watch it because it's done by Noah Hawley.
Yeah.
I've seen Alien Earth, and I already know from the entire season he make anything this guy makes is shit. If he's doing it, I'm not watching it. I don't care what it is. And
well,
if this guy,
I mean, that's a whole
made a
nother
fucking
discussion
Zelda
altogether. Go ahead.
that's what I say. Even if this guy made a Zelda movie or whatever, I'm not watching it. Anything Noah Hawley is going to make, I'm not going to watch because it sucks. That is my opinion.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting discussion to have, though, Mike, because Andor was arguably one of the best things to come out of Star Wars in years. So I expected this to be along those lines, but I feel like money talks. Money talks.
I didn't have much expectation at all going into this. Just like I said, I haven't seen Andor, so I did not know much work of Noah Hawley. No?
Yeah.
Huh? What I know is that the majority of the things done in this show were his decision and his decision alone. He wanted to do this. He wanted to do it. It was not Disney that made him do it. Noah Haley wanted to do all of these things specifically. He's bragged about it on every single fucking interview he's done. So don't tell me this was the studio ruining it. It was Noah Haley.
The studio definitely had something to do with it because the studio always has something to say about what gets put out.
They always have something to say with it. That's true. Yeah. But if you watch any interview,
and they could have stopped
Noah Haley has done.
They could have stopped it. I mean, Disney also did Andor, so
yeah. It was also Noah Haley that did Andor. He did Andor, man.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. He did a really good job with that show.
When people want to bring up with me, this was not studio interference. This show being bad.
No, it was him.
It was him.
Yeah,
it was Noah Haley. And just like I say, from now on, anything Noah Haley does, I'm not watching it. I don't care what it is. I don't care how much people tell me how good it is. I'm not watching it. And yes, I will uphold that. For similar reasons, I till nowadays have not watched. You know this. You know me.
Yeah,
till nowadays, I have not watched Breaking Bad. I have not watched Game of Thrones after season 1, specifically those reasons. I mean, less reasons. Game of Thrones was just, I thought it was fucking boring as shit. No, did not like it. No, the only thing
you dodged a bullet on that one because that
one
series is fucking garbage towards the end.
The thing is, no, even for me, straight up season 1, I thought it was boring as shit. Everybody in the show is a complete fucking asshole. I hate them all. No, the only thing interesting happening in Game of Thrones season 1 is people having sex, and at that point, I can watch porn. No, if I want to see people having sex. No, and so that's why. Thing is, that's why I just instantly stopped. I stopped after season 1. I'm like, okay, fine, I'm done. Don't have to see this shit anymore. No? And no matter how popular the show became, no matter how much people tell me, oh, but I said, no, not watching this shit. Same thing was with Breaking Bad. I thought it was boring. I did not like it. Okay, I only saw the first 2 episodes. Yeah, but everybody,
you should have given that one a little bit more time. That was a great show.
But the thing is, the problem is how people everybody, if you were not interested in it, a lot of people acted like you were some fucking bozo or whatever. Huh?
Yeah, I don't really, I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks. That's the thing. Like, I have never cared if somebody else was like, what do you mean? That's the most amazing show on the planet. I don't give a fuck about that. Dude, if I like the show, I'm going to watch it. If not, you know?
But the thing is, if I'm not interested, I'm the same way. If I like a show, I only care what I think about it.
But, and that's how you should feel. That's how everybody should.
The thing is, I was not interested in Breaking Bad at all. I wasn't interested in it. But everybody was trying to convince me so fucking hard on how awesome this show was. Specifically on the internet or whatever, people look stupid after you if you've never seen the show and interested in it. And it's not really that I dislike the people or whatever. I have no ill feelings towards the people that were doing this, just by the way. No? But that behavior alone just came to me to a point where I said, no, I'm not watching it. I'm not watching it out of principle.
Okay.
Because
I can agree with that.
How diehard people were trying to get me to watch this show just because I was weird because I did not want to watch this show. It was like, no, that principle alone, I'm not watching it. Specifically, just to stand my ground. And I'm not going to miss out on anything. The only thing I'm missing out on a fictional show that at the end of the day matters zero.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Good point. Okay, so this episode is extra fucking long. And I'm going to say, I feel like we stuck to our guns on this because I'm not going to cut anything out that is relevant to the discussion. This show was absolutely terrible, and I'm going to stick to that. And no matter how many episodes we do after this, I will refer back to this episode and say, hey, it doesn't matter what's popular. I'm going to say, and Mike is going to say exactly what we think about a show. This was awful. And at this episode right here, it looks like it's around 4 hours right now. If I cut it down and it's 3 hours, then we did a good job. The show was absolutely terrible. I'm going to speak up about that. And I'm going to continue to say that to everyone that I talk to. And I hope that if you watch this, you understand why we feel that way. Thank you for sticking it out if you've made it this far into the episode. Thank you for liking what we do. You're going to get the raw truth here. You're not going to get the sugar-coated, pushed by any type of propaganda bullshit that Disney does or any other studio. We're not being paid by anybody. We just say what we think. And we are real fans. We are people that like horror for horror being horror, not because of what kind of money it makes. And I will never fold to that. So thanks for sticking around. Mike, do you have anything else you want to say about this horrible, steaming pile of shit that they did to Alien?
No, not really. Noah Hawley, you destroyed the Alien franchise. You have no fucking idea what Alien was about. You cannot write a cohesive, complex story in a complex world. And if you did not know what you were doing with this show, you're blind. You're
Agreed.
blind,
Agreed.
lying, or what I have said multiple times in this show. That's my last state to this.
Okay. Fair enough. I agree with everything Mike said. All right, guys, stick around for the next episode. We have no idea what we're doing, but it's going to be probably a little bit less angry than this.
Yeah, because, by the way, Halloween season starts.
Right.
Also
So
on this
be
channel.
prepared. Yeah. Okay, guys. We'll see you all next time. I'm Matt.
I'm Mike.
See ya.
The blackest eyes. The darkest eyes. They are simply